This podcast is sponsored by nobody. Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today I will be talking to Harvey Brownstone. He is a former lawyer and judge who got to be the first openly gay judge in Canada over 30 years ago. He is the host of the Harvey Brownstone interviews on YouTube. And we've been mutual fans of each other for almost 5 years. I discovered his channel back in 2021. I was about to interview Adrienne Barbeau, I remember at the time, and I found Harvey's interview with Adrienne, and I have been hooked ever since. He has interviewed everyone from Robert Wagner to Mamie Van Doren to Dick Cavett to Diane Cannon, Tony Orlando, Tony Tennille, F. Murray Abraham. The list goes on and on. He's got a very unique way of interviewing. He's like a lawyer doing a cross-examination, which is perfect for him because that's what he used to do. And he's a national treasure, I have to say. And I'm looking forward to talking with him today. His new memoir is out, Without Prejudice, My Life as a Gay Judge. It's available on Amazon, and it's highly recommended. It's a riveting portrait of a man who persevered and got everything he ever wanted in life. He had to go through hell to get to heaven, figuratively speaking, of course. And a movie about his life will be coming out sometime next year. And I'll be asking him about that, whatever he can say about it, of course, because the movie's not out yet. But I can't wait to get into all of that with him today. And every week I look forward to watching his interviews on YouTube. I mean, his show is a real treat, an absolute treat. Also, July summer is almost over. I got a few more interviews left before I kick off Hot August summer. I've got a major bucket list guest coming soon. You all know her. She's an icon of our childhood, a comedy legend, and I'm so excited. And no, it's not Roseanne. That's all I can say. 9 years of hard work really has paid off for me. I am so grateful. I mean, who knew the pandemic would just, mature me, make me a nice guy and a consummate professional and a decent human being. Who knew? Who knew? Because pre-pandemic, oh my God, so many of my interviews are cringy. Some I can't listen to, some I've taken down, but I am really happy with where I am now, and I am so grateful and blessed. Sorry to be repetitive. So yeah, here is my interview with Harvey Brownstone. Hey Harvey, welcome to the show, sir. How are you today?
Thank you so much. I'm fine. How are you?
I am fantastic. As someone who's a devoted follower of your show the last 5 years, I can't tell you what an honor this is. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
So let's start with this amazing memoir, Without Prejudice, My Life as a Gay Judge. It is riveting and beyond inspirational, I have to say. And I heard you say...
Thank you so much.
Of course. I heard you say in a recent interview, it took you a month to write this. So you just wrote the whole thing just straight out, or did you have drafts?
Oh, I sat down. I told myself I needed to take my mind back to the very beginning and kind of put myself in a zone. And I didn't have any drafts or any journals or anything. I just had to remember by reliving everything that happened to me. And it took 3 weeks.
Wow, just 3 weeks. Wow, had I known that, I would have just written my memoir in a whole month myself. But it's been taking me 5 years, mainly because I have taken a break from writing it. But that is just amazing. I think one of the advantages of writing a memoir nowadays is computer spell check, because without it, it would probably be harder to write any book.
Well, I have to say that I've had a lot of celebrities on my show who tell me that they spent years and years writing their memoirs, and I just don't understand that. I don't want to live in the past. I don't want to spend that much time and energy reliving, especially painful things. So I
Hmm.
was happy that I disciplined myself to just get it out of me, just get it all out of me in a reasonably quick time. I did spend another few weeks editing it and
Hmm.
polishing it so that it would be in good shape. But the actual work of telling the story, I wanted to do it quickly so that it wouldn't be still inside me because a lot of what was in the book is painful.
Yeah. So were there many nights of pondering and crying and just getting the emotions out before articulating it to paper?
I don't think I cried more than about 3 times. There were 3 times that I remember crying when I was describing things that happened. And the rest of the time, it wasn't terribly emotional, but I was not in the present. I was really living in the past. I had to make myself see it all again so that I could take the reader with me. And it is emotional. There's no question when you write deeply about something that you lived a long time ago that you haven't really thought about a lot since then, at least not in the detail that you have
Hmm.
to in a book. It can be quite overwhelming emotionally, but if you don't feel that, I don't think you're writing a good book.
I totally agree. When you look back on all the adversity that you've overcome, surviving homophobia, homelessness, trying to achieve your dreams, do you ever think to yourself, how did I survive all of that, and how did I not get myself killed?
Well, I did contemplate suicide at one point, and I wrote about that in the book.
Right.
And I'm very grateful that I had the strength to not do it because I knew lots of other young gay and lesbian people who turned all of that rejection inward into self-loathing, and they
Hmm.
self-medicated with drugs and alcohol, and I was determined not to do that. So when I do look back, I do feel that I can't believe how I did it. But that's kind of been my whole life. Even now, when people ask me, how in the world did you go from being a judge to being a talk show host, interviewing all these stars? How did you do that? And I can't believe that I did it. I know exactly what you mean when you ask this question because
Hmm.
I can't quite get over that I was able to overcome so many obstacles, that I did get myself appointed to the judiciary, that I did manage to reinvent myself as a celebrity interviewer, that I did get myself through school with no money. It is true. You do look back and you think, wow, I must be stronger than I thought.
Right. And also, too, and this transitions into my next question. I'm a person who believes in God, and I believe there's no coincidences. And I think we survive adversity for a reason. You were raised in a Jewish family. Do you identify as religious or spiritual in any way?
Very much so. And I share your feelings, Tommy. I do believe the way you do that destiny has a hand in everything that happens to us, that there are no accidents, that things do happen for a reason. I really, really believe that. And I've trusted my destiny to lead me to the right decisions, the right choices, and the right path. And I was raised Jewish not by religious parents,
Hmm.
but I am very spiritual. I do strongly believe in guardian angels. Some people call it God.
Right.
I don't know. I just know that I believe that I have guardian angels that have helped me and inspired me and motivated me and protected me.
That's a beautiful way to put it. I totally agree. In the book, You mentioned how, and I'm paraphrasing this, you developed a reputation as a lawyer for making witty and sarcastic remarks if you were appearing before a judge who was conservative and not very compassionate or understanding of the plaintiff's situation. When I hear that, I am immediately reminded of Douglas Wambaugh on picket fences. What was he an influence on you?
Oh, I can't say that he was, no.
Yeah, my dad and I used to watch that show just for him. He was so hilarious and witty, and just there hasn't been a lawyer on TV like it. And I don't know if there's very many of them out there in real life, other than what you were and stuff. Now that being said, and I can't remember if this was in the book or not. Did you ever end up in contempt of court?
Oh, no, I never. It's a fine line when you're in court. You have to
Mm-hmm.
read the judge. Some judges have more tolerance for a sense of humor and levity,
Mm-hmm.
and others are very formal and they stand on protocol and they're severe. So if I was in front of a judge that I could tell would not appreciate a smart alecky comment here and there, I didn't
Yeah.
do it. I knew my audience. So, no, I never got in trouble.
Oh, that's good. That's good. It seems like it's very hard not to sometimes. What's the overall response been to your book? I mean, are you getting messages from other lawyers and judges and other members of the gay community who say that this book makes them feel good?
Well, that's a really good question. I have to tell you,
Thank
in
you.
terms of the gay community,
Hmm.
I've heard nothing.
Wow.
I must tell you that I honestly think the gay community doesn't care about uh, pioneers, about trailblazers, about those who fought the battle before all of the rights that we enjoy now, same sex marriage and equality. I really have not sensed much support from the gay community at all. I'm sorry to say that. In terms of my colleagues, I have heard rumblings that some of my former colleagues, who are the old guard of the court, are not pleased that I would write a book that criticizes the judiciary and the court system. But the vast majority of judges that I've heard from have been very supportive and saying, bravo, it's about time somebody told the truth about what really goes on behind the scenes of the justice system. Honestly, I don't care about the judges that don't approve of my book because I didn't approve of them and the
Yeah.
way they conducted themselves.
Oh yeah, I totally get it. That's really unfortunate though about the gay community. I think they'll come around though because I know the younger generation, it seems in general, they just don't seem to care about history and they don't seem to care about who came before them. But they will. It'll come around. I have a feeling that in 10, maybe 5 to 10 years, this book will be an underground cult favorite amongst the gay community.
Oh, that's very sweet of you to say. I can only tell you that the vast majority of gay people in the gay organizations are under 40, and they've never lived through what we did, what I did.
Hmm.
Same-sex marriage, they just take that for granted, that that's always been around, and that there's been protections, constitutional protections, and protections in employment, and and pensions and all of that. They just don't care about what happened before. There's no sense of history. It's very disappointing,
Hmm.
but I'm not alone. I've spoken to other trailblazers in the gay world who've said the same thing, that they're just forgotten, and it's okay. I hope you're right that maybe one day there will be more interest in who came before and how we got where we got. Because I know I opened a lot of doors in the legal community for young lesbian and gay lawyers. And now there's lots of gay judges, but they don't seem to care.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. So I discovered your YouTube channel back in 2021. I was about to interview Adrienne Barbeau, and I found your interview with her, and I've been hooked ever since. You've
Thank
inter-
you so much, Tommy, for saying that. That's so kind of you. Thank you.
Of course, I am. Even though the show is not really a podcast per se, I am a podcast I am a podcast consumer, and I love to hear what everybody's doing, and I love to hear previous interviews with upcoming guests and stuff. So absolutely, yeah, you've interviewed about 42 of my guests. I wish I could mention every single one of them, but you've had people on that I would only dream of having. You've had Robert Wagner, Mamie Van Doren, Dick Cavett, Diane Cannon, Rich Little, Tony Orlando, Tony Tennille, F. Murray Abraham. The list goes on and on. And, like me, you seem like a true fan of the people you interview. Would you say that's a fair assessment?
Oh, yes, very much. In fact, today, just before we had our conversation, you and me,
Uh huh.
I finished my interview with the legendary Martha Reeves
Ah, yes!
from Motown. She was the lead singer in Martha Reeves and the Vandellas, of course. It was such a treat. And I am a big fan. That's why I wanted to do this in the first place, because I was so anxious to talk to the people I've idolized and ask them questions that I didn't feel had ever been asked of them before.
Yeah, I saw you advertise on Facebook that Martha Reeves was coming on. I am so happy about that. I am a huge Motown fan. I'm going to be listening to that. Oh, I'm so excited. It doesn't seem like she does a lot of interviews, so that's great that you got her.
That's the thing, as you know, because I'm speaking to a colleague here.
Hmm.
You do understand that it's hard. It's really, really hard to get big name stars to come on your show. And even in my case, where I'm in my sixth year and I do have a track record, you mentioned some of the people I've had on, and I've been lucky enough to get people, and I got their last interviews, or one of their last interviews, like Lou Gossett Jr. and
Hmm.
Lonnie Anderson and Loretta Swit and these people who are no longer with us. And it's just, I guess they get so many invitations and they have to be selective about which interviews they will grant. And I get more no's than I get yeses. I would say maybe out of 50 stars that I write to, I'll get one that says yes. It's really hard, but I'm sure you agree with that.
Oh yeah. I mean, I write, let's say 50 to 50 people, maybe about 10 of them will say yes, on a weekly
Well, you're
basis.
doing better than me. Congratulations.
Yes, but like, I totally get it. There's been some weeks when, I don't get that many, but I'm grateful for what I get, but you can't just, rest on your laurels and sit back. You have to make the initiation. You have to connect and do it. Otherwise, why are you doing it at the end of the day?
Well, a lot of the problem, I think, is that most of these great big stars have what I call gatekeepers. Their
Right.
managers, agents, publicists, they control who gets to their clients. And it's not really that the star has said no, it's that their people have said no or don't even bother to ask their client whether they
Oh,
want to do the interview.
sure.
And my dream is that one day I will be successful enough. Maybe after the movie is out, the movie version of my book, maybe I'll be
Hmm.
successful and well known enough that people will say yes to me because my show will be more popular than it is. I hope so.
Have you ever had a guest that was just so not having it and not very informative that you decided not to air the episode?
I did have one author who wrote a book, and I can't remember. He was a dancer on Broadway, and he wrote a really good book about his career.
Hmm.
And then he was in movies too. And when I got him on the camera, he was in his 90s, and I could tell that he wasn't able to answer my questions. And I don't know why his handlers agreed to let him come on my show because it's clear that he could not.
Wow.
He just couldn't answer. He clearly had dementia. I don't remember his name, but that really broke my heart because I read the book. I loved it. I was all prepared. I did so much work. And I'm sure you've had it happen too, where an interview gets canceled or you filmed it and it just doesn't work out.
Oh
It
yeah.
almost happened. And I have said this publicly. This is not the first time I'm revealing this, but Bronson Pinchot,
Yep.
who's a well-known actor, was on my show, and halfway through the interview, he just said, "I've had enough. I'm out of here. I don't want to keep going." And I said, "But I've got more questions." And he said, "Well, ask one more, and we're done." And so I was heartbroken. I wrapped it up, and I did air the interview, and it comes across okay,
Hmm.
but I've never had that happen where a celebrity said, he didn't give a reason. He just said, I got to go. I've had enough.
Yeah, I have to say you handled that situation well because I did watch it and I thought you were asking him the right questions and everything was great, but I do know he has that reputation, and so I was just stunned. But I gotta say, I always read your user comments before I watch the interview just so I have to watch for anything where something happened, went off the rails or something, because on your show, your questions are so great, but the answers and the responses are so unpredictable that I have to do that sometimes so I can pace myself.
Well, that's really sweet of you. You're a very loyal a viewer and supporter of mine. And if I may ask you, how did you find me?
Well, like I said, I was about to interview Adrienne Barbeau, and I was just looking for any past interviews that she had done up to that point, and yours was, I believe, the first one that I saw. And I heard you say in another interview that there was a few incidences that happened where she had to like go answer the phone or something. I did notice that there was some kind of clunky edits in there, and that basically answered my question as to, God, I wonder what happened. you know.
No, I have to say, you have a very good memory because that's exactly what happened. She insisted on answering her phone every time it rang, and
Yeah.
there were 4 phone calls that happened during that conversation. One of them was from her pharmacy, one of them was from her son.
Wow.
And I'm really, really lucky that my producer and partner, Steve, is a very good editor because I don't know how other podcasts do this.
Yeah.
If you don't edit a podcast, especially a video show like ours, because we're televised in the UK, it's a video show. I don't know what it would look like if we didn't edit it because we do get that happen. I've had stars that said, I need to take a break. I got to go pee.
Mm-hmm.
I've had, one I had, somebody came to the door and they had to go answer the door. I've had so many things happen, or sometimes there's a power outage or an internet
Oh
failure and we
yeah.
have to pick it up an hour later or a day later. And so people don't see that. They just see this finished product and people assume that everything is so smooth. But I'll tell you, we even edit out all the ums. You'll never hear someone say on my show because my producer is a stickler for ums and he gets them all out. And so people are much more articulate on our show. And that includes me.
Yeah.
They appear much more articulate than what they really are because the show is edited. But I'm proud of that. I'm proud that we have a really good production values. And in the case of Adrienne Barbeau and a lot of others, you can tell it's been edited. The edits are not smooth because the guest has been moving around and we're dealing with Zoom. We're not dealing with fancy schmancy technology. So if the guest is moving around a lot and not sitting still in front of the camera, you will see that it's been edited because it's jumpy.
Mm-hmm.
But when they sit still and they don't move, I got to tell you, it's seamless and you cannot tell.
Yeah, it looks great. I mean, it's just top notch, I have to say. Um, have you ever had a guest lined up and before the interview happened they passed away?
Oh, Tommy, I missed out on Raquel Welch.
Wow.
I missed out on Suzanne Summers.
Oh.
There was one other that passed away that we had booked, and they died before we could do the show. I can't remember now who, but that is a heartbreak. And then I've had some that cancel. They just cancel with no explanation.
Oh
I
yeah.
had, we were all set to interview Frankie Avalon,
Wow.
and a couple hours before, his son uh, emailed and said, sorry, he's not available. And I
Oh
never got an explanation. I couldn't
yeah.
reschedule it. It's tough. These are things that the public has no idea. They turn on a podcast and they see this guest like Mamie Van Doren or
Hmm.
Robert Wagner or some of the others you mentioned. They don't realize that it took me years to convince them to come on my show.
Yeah.
We just had Ben Vereen on.
Yeah.
Remember Ben Vereen?
I love Ben Vereen. I love that interview you guys did.
Oh, thank you for that. That took 2 years. Two
Wow.
years of back and forth with the manager and the agent and availability and his willingness to do it. And he has some health issues, so he had to be well enough. It's really a full-time job. This was supposed to be a hobby, but it turned into a full-time job. And I gotta say, when I get people like you who've stayed with me all these years, even though you have your own show and you're busy,
Hmm.
it means the world to me.
Of course. I mean, I am all about community in the podcast world because I think it's a small community, even though pretty much everyone has one now, and I try to connect with the right ones. There's a lot of horrible ones out there. You and I are both pretty critical about the ones that we see on YouTube these days. But yeah, I'm always trying to, connect everybody together because I think, at the end of the day, we're all in this together.
Well, that's really generous of you to say. I have not found that generally to be the case. I think that there's a lot of competitiveness.
Yes.
I have received some very negative comments from some other podcasters who are angry with me because they've been trying to get guests, the same guests that I managed to get,
Right.
or they've been on the air much longer than me and they feel that they deserved to get these guests that I'm getting that they couldn't get. And that's just so childish and so immature because
Yes.
I don't control whether a guest says yes or no. I can only tell you
Yeah.
that I have my ways of reaching them and I have my arguments that I make to try to persuade them to come on the show. I have a reputation in the industry for being very well prepared and very well researched. You know that.
Right.
And celebrities talk. And they talk to each other. And if you're not good at what you do, they find out and they don't want to be on your show. And some of the people that have criticized me, who are also podcasters, are simply not any good.
Yeah.
And the reason they're not doing well, like you and I are doing well, but they're not, is because they're not good. They don't prepare. They ask
No.
stupid questions. They're amateurish in their presentation. Their production values stink. And there's a lot of that on YouTube. Just
Yeah.
because, and I say this all the time, just because somebody has a webcam and a microphone does not mean that they have the skill to be an interviewer. It
No.
takes work. You have to prepare. You have to do research.
I know. And when I get guests, I have to let them know I'm not one of those guys because, they maybe haven't heard of me or anything. So I got to let them know, yeah, I'm not going to ask you those stupid questions that you've answered in a million interviews and stuff. And, it can be really exhausting to do that. But, once I get them, and they can see what I can do, it's rewarding.
The other thing, Tommy, some podcasters make it all about themselves.
Right.
They don't. If you watch my show, and I know you do,
Hmm.
I don't talk about myself. I don't have a monologue at the beginning like so many of them do.
Like
I
me.
make it all about the guest. It's not about me.
Hmm.
If people like me, it's because I'm grateful for it, but it's because of the way I manage my guest. It's not because I'm trying to be a star. But I see so many podcasts, because I do watch, where they make it all about themselves. They talk too much. They don't focus on the guest, or they're not listening to what the guest is saying. And people notice it. And if you want to have a big audience and you want to get high quality stars to come on your show, you have to be really good. And I'm lucky. I have some friends who are podcasters, in particular Craig Bennett, who came on our show and interviewed me.
Right.
he thought it would be a fun thing to do. I thought he was going to invite me to come on his show. Craig Bennett has a show called Celebrity Drop, and he's in Australia.
Mm.
And he really does get a lot of big stars, and he has a very big audience. And I was thrilled when he contacted me, and I thought he was going to say, "Would you come on my show?" And instead he said, "I have an idea. Why don't I come on your show and interview you?" And I thought, wow, that's actually really clever, because my viewers will then get to know him, and maybe some of them will tune into his show, which I think is great. I don't have a problem. I'm not in competition with anybody. I'm 70 years old. I'm not doing this to become famous or to make money. I'm doing it because it's something I love to do. So I had no problem with it, and he gave me a great interview. He's a really, really good celebrity interviewer.
That's wonderful. So this movie that just got made about your life, when you found out that David Arquette was going to play the middle-aged version of you, like, what was your first reaction?
Honestly, I was shocked. I was not what I was expecting. And I should tell you, I had no say.
Hmm.
I had control over the screenplay, but not the casting or anything else about the movie for that matter, not the locations or anything else. So when I was told there were three, first of all, there's three actors that play me. There's a child
Hmm.
who plays Harvey that's getting bullied in the playground. And then there's the young Harvey who comes out, gets thrown out, and has to struggle through law school and becoming a lawyer. That's David Mazouz.
Hmm.
He starred in a TV show called Gotham. He played the young Batman, Bruce Wayne. And then David Arquette is the star of the movie, and he plays Harvey the judge. And I said to the director, I can't see it. You know, he's never done a movie that's this deep, that's this intense.
Hmm.
This is such a dramatic role, and he's not gay, and at least not that I know of, and I just don't think he's anything like me. And the director said, well, you're going to be surprised. He really, really, really wants this role. He really loves the script and the book. And I think it would be what they call casting against type, which means in Hollywood, they sometimes like to cast actors that you wouldn't think would do it, especially in gay roles. That's why, let's see, Sean Penn played Harvey Milk. Tom
Hmm.
Hanks did Philadelphia. You had Heath Ledger and Jake Gyllenhaal doing Brokeback Mountain. These were all straight actors. You have Michael Douglas playing Liberace. And the people in Hollywood felt that David Arquette was actually an interesting choice that would make people quite curious about how he did it. So when I got on the set,
Hmm.
we had dinner the night before we started filming, and I was there for the whole shoot. David Arquette and I had dinner,
Right.
and I could feel that he was observing me, really absorbing everything I was doing, and my body language and my mannerisms and the tone of my voice and all of that. And after the dinner was over, he said, you know, I'm not going to try to imitate you. And I said, good, good, because I don't know that it would come across as authentic. And he said, I'm going to find the Harvey in this script that resonates with me. And that's what he did. He really did. I mean, if people are looking for the Harvey that they know, they're not going to see that. They're
Hmm.
going to see a Harvey based on his heart and his soul and his life experience. And it came across beautifully. And I'm thrilled with his performance.
Oh, that's so great. Yeah, I noticed that Matthew Glave plays Vincent Miller in the cast. I love Matthew Glave. I think he's like one of the best movie bad guys in modern times. Did you get to meet him?
I sure did. We had a lovely time together. Matthew Glave nailed it.
Hmm.
He plays, at one point in my life, I was going to be appointed Chief Justice,
Hmm.
and the homophobic colleagues, there were not a lot, but there was a few,
Yeah.
orchestrated a smear campaign against me to make sure I didn't get the job. And the person who gets the job in the movie is Matthew Glave.
Right.
He's the guy that's not as qualified as me, but gets it. And he just nails the performance. He's such a talented actor and a very, very nice man.
Nice, nice. Yeah, yeah. I think you have to be a nice man to play really mean, nasty guys. you know.
Never thought of that, but maybe you're right.
Yeah, I can only remember maybe one or two guys I've interviewed who played bad guys that were really jerks in real life, but for the most part, no, they're mostly good guys.
Well, actually, I have to tell you, everybody really was. I mean, we had Rachelle Lefebvre. She plays my mom. She's, of course, a big star from the TV show called Twilight, and now she's in season 2 of the Netflix reboot of Little House on the Prairie. She's really fabulous.
Hmm.
I mentioned David Mazouz, who plays me, the young me. There were Ernest Hardin Jr. plays my guardian angel from law school,
Yeah,
who got me a scholarship and got me on welfare. Ernest is a very dear friend. He was in the Jeffersons. He was in White Mama with Betty Davis.
yep,
He was in White Men Don't Jump. And of course, now he's up for an Emmy Award for The Pit.
love it.
He is a lovely, wonderful guy.
Ah, that is so cool. So cool. So you mentioned the Martha Reeves interview coming up. Who else do you got coming up you can mention?
You know, I have a superstition, Tommy. You've
Hmm.
caught me. I used to tell people who was coming up, and
Yeah.
then I don't know why, but something would always go wrong. They got canceled, they got sick, they died. The interview just didn't happen. So now I make it a rule. I never, ever tell anyone who's coming on the show until the interview is in the can. That's why I mentioned Martha Reeves, because it's in the can. We've done the interview. But I
Right.
will not ever disclose who's coming on the show because I'm superstitious.
That really hasn't happened to me, but I will tell you this. I did tell a few people about a bucket list guest I have coming on next week, and next thing I know, I had to reschedule. So maybe that's a superstition thing, right? But I totally get it. I totally get it. I mean,
I mean, I don't know why, but I've got to tell you, it happened. I mean, I've given a lot of interviews over the years, and it's a very common question. Oh, who have you got coming up? I'm
mhm.
telling you, every single time I announced it, something went wrong. And so
Wow.
now I've learned, okay, this interview isn't a sure thing until they show up on the screen. You know, I've had some stars, they showed up, but they didn't know how to use Zoom and they couldn't hear me, or I couldn't hear them, or
Hmm.
they couldn't get their camera to work. I
Yeah.
could hear them, but I couldn't see them. We've had other times where they get sick, they cancel, they change their minds. It happens often enough that I've learned until I see the whites of their eyes on that screen,
Hmm.
I don't tell anybody who's coming on.
Have you ever tried to get Russ Tamblyn on your show?
No, I know many people have suggested him, but I
Hmm.
find that he's given a lot of interviews already,
Yeah.
and I think he said everything he's got to say. They're the same questions, they're the same answers.
Yeah.
When I see that somebody has really told their story fully, I just don't think there's any point in me having them come on my show to say the same thing. And so
Right.
there's a number of stars that I did not have that people have asked me about because I feel they've said it all. You know, they've
Yeah.
said it all. There's just, I have nothing left to ask.
Yeah, I almost got him last year when his book was out, but unfortunately it didn't happen. I did get to interview his best friend Tony Mordente from West Side Story before he passed away, and that was wonderful. I'm very proud of that interview.
What's your favorite interview of all the ones you've done, Tommy?
This is saying a lot. I mean, I do have like a top 10 or 20, but like the one I love the most, Gina Shock from the Go-Go's. Um, I got her to be so vulnerable in a way I had never heard her be vulnerable in any interview, and she's been on my show twice. I'm gonna hopefully get her on a third, and I've become good friends with her and her manager slash boyfriend, and I'm so proud of it because she's this tough tomboy from the streets of Baltimore, and I just got her to be vulnerable in that first interview, and I cry and I just glee over the fact that I've talked to a Rock and Roll Hall of Famer and I got them to open up and be vulnerable.
That's monumental. I mean, that's something to be very proud of. And I think that what you're saying, you and I are so alike that
Hmm.
we love the interviews where we can make an emotional connection with the guest. And in your case, it's not easy because you're doing it audio. You're not doing it like we don't see each other,
Right.
but you have so much warmth and you're so engaging and likable that even though I can't see you, I do feel a connection and a friendship with you. And I think that's one of your gifts that when you're doing an interview, you become friends with your guest in real time.
Yeah, yeah. There's several guests that I'm just so lucky to be friends with. Like actual real life friendships. Some drift apart and what have you, but the ones that have stuck with me the last 9 years, I am so lucky and so blessed. And I thank you so much for bringing that up, Harvey. Um,
Well, it's my pleasure. I mean, I think, like I said, I think this is really hard. The competition is immense. I mean, I don't think you have an advertising budget, and I don't either.
right?
It's really hard to get viewers because they have to find you. See, I was lucky. You found me because you were looking for an interview with Adrienne. But
Yeah.
if you had not been, I don't know that you would have found me. And I don't know how people find me. I just know that growing an audience is really, really challenging. And I appreciate the people that tune in. And I know you appreciate your
I do.
listeners because they're, I mean, these people
Mm.
have many choices of how they spend their time. So the fact they want to spend it with you and me is such a blessing, isn't it?
It is. It's a pinch me moment every every day. And Harvey, you are such a great man. Thank you so much for coming on today. I'm telling everybody to read your book. It is just a page turner.
Thank you so much, Tommy. That's just so sweet of you. And I hope you'll honor me by letting me come back when the movie comes out. It's
Yes.
going to do the film festival circuit all fall, and then next year, early next year, it will go onto a major streaming platform. It's called Without Prejudice, starring David Arquette, and I would love to have your support for that too. And I thank you so much for the honor of having me on your show. It's really a thrill.
I will have you back, sir. My pleasure. Have a great day.
You too, Tommy. All the best.
Bye bye. Well, there you have it. Harvey Brownstone. Didn't I tell you he's a gem, a national treasure? Oh my God, I loved every moment of that conversation. Like I said, the man is a gem and he is so genuine. And that was just a wonderful talk we had. And I will have him back on when his movie comes out because I am just I'm intrigued to see David Arquette play him in middle age. That's going to be an awesome movie, and see Matthew Glave too. That's going to be great. I am totally looking forward to it. So again, Without Prejudice, My Life as a Gay Judge is available on Amazon. Pick it up because you will be inspired. It's just the most amazing book, and I'm going to go back and read it again because it's that great. And tune in to hear Martha Reeves on the Harvey Brownstone interviews. That's going to be great. Like I said, I'm a huge Motown fan, and she doesn't do interviews often, so that's going to be fantastic. Well, until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past because the present sucks. Later, dudes.